In this video, we are going to be demonstrating how you can save your Universal Analytics data. So in July 2023, Universal Analytics properties, that's the old version of Google Analytics, stopped processing new data. So you won't have data in your Universal Analytics properties from the 1st of July 2023 or potentially shortly after that. It might have collected for another couple of weeks. But certainly by August 2023, most of our clients will have had no data collecting in the Universal Analytics properties. Google Analytics 4 is a new generation of Google Analytics. It's a product that was built to provide a more holistic, insight-driven analytics platform, and it's one that is suited to evolving privacy regulations and considerations. So it's certainly a more robust program that we can use now when we compare that to Universal Analytics. So you will be able to access your previously processed data in Universal Analytics, but only up until the 1st of July 2024, which means we have only another few weeks to view that Universal Analytics data. What if you wanted to view that data after the 1st of July? There's a couple of different options that Google Analytics recommends. The first option is to create reports in the UI and export that data to TSV, CSV, Excel, Google Sheets, or by PDF. But remember, there is a limitation of an export limitation of 5,000 rows. So we can pull out those reports, but we can't export all of that data. The second option is to use the Google Analytics Reporting API and export the data to cloud storage. However, there can be added costs to doing that option. So the third one, and the option that we're going to show you and demonstrate today, is using the Google Sheets add-on for analytics. We're going to use that today to export your UA data, and that means that we can use that data or access that data from a Google Sheet post the 1st of July 2024. I should also mention that Google Analytics expects that you will not have access to your Universal Analytics data within a week of the 1st of July 2024. So some of you might have noticed whenever they stopped processing data in your Universal Analytics account in July last year, there might have been another few weeks extended onto that. In this case, they've said, actually we expect by the first week in July, you won't be able to access that Universal Analytics data anymore. So historical Universal Analytics data, you won't be able to access. So this option allows you to have an add-on to Google Sheets and pull out some of your old Universal Analytics data. The very first thing that you need to do is actually think about the data that you need. Okay, so there is, in some client accounts, we have access to data that goes back sometimes 10 years or more. So you really need to think about, okay, what do I actually want to see and what date range do I want to pull that data from? What am I actually going to be using? Don't think that you have to download everything. There is limits on the number of sales in the workbook, which is 10 million sales, which I know on the surface sounds like a lot, but if you think about all of the data that you want to pull and over a large date range, that can roll into quite a lot of sales. So for some clients, we've hit that quite quickly, and we've had to add certain filters onto our configuration options to make sure that we are still able to collect the data that we need, and we have potentially added, in some cases, filters or orders to that data to make sure that we get the data that is actually going to be used. So there's two links that we've supplied here. One link is to download the app, and the second link is to download the template. So we're going to do that in a minute. Whenever we download the template, we're going to have some configuration options as well, and I'm going to talk you through those. But the very first thing that we need to do is to download the app. So I'm going to go into my Chrome browser, and that link will take you directly to this page here where we can click to install. Okay, so that's the first thing that we've had to do. Now the second thing that we have to do is to copy the template. So I'm going to click that link and copy it over to my Chrome. Okay, so this template that we're looking at is one that Google Analytics has provided for us. So we've downloaded the extension. We're going to make a copy of that Google Sheet. And what this allows us to do is it allows us to run a report configuration to pull out all of the top reports. So Google Analytics have made it quite easy for us in that they've created this template, which is basically a sheet that allows us to relatively quickly run these reports and export all of this data into different sheets. So we've got a copy of this UA Common Reports. I'm just going to name this as GlowMetrics UA Common Reports, and it's going to be saved to my drive. And there's a couple of different options that we need to keep in mind here. So we've got a report name, which any of these can be edited, but they're just a summary of the reports that Google Analytics have built for us. Okay, so the next option here is our view ID. This is really important, and they've highlighted this in yellow because it's important that we change this out. So where do you find your view ID? So I am going to open up our analytics account. So this is our GlowMetrics analytics account. I can see that this is our GlowMetrics Universal Analytics property because I can see that we're underneath our GlowMetrics name. We've got UA dash and then a number. If you notice when you log into your Google Analytics account and you click on the option to view your accounts, properties and views, any with a number like this will generally relate to a Google Analytics 4 account. So I know I've got this primary Google Analytics UA account. So I select that, and then we have a couple of different views, but what I want to do is pull data from this unfiltered view. Okay, so we've obviously no data here because it hasn't been collecting any data, but what I need is the view ID. So how you get the view ID is you click on the bottom left hand corner, and that's the admin section or the gear icon, and you've got your account, you've got your property, and then you've got your view. So as before, similar to what we've seen before in the view before, we've got our different properties, and then we've got our different views here. I've selected the correct view from the correct property from the correct account. If you click on view settings, you'll get the view ID here in your basic settings. So I'm going to take a copy of that and go back to my report template, and I'm going to paste my view ID in here, removing the old view ID which was provided as a template by Google. Okay, so some of the other options that we need to check is our start date. So with our start date, our start date and our end date indicates the date range that the report is going to export the data from. So what this is telling us here is it's taken the data, the UA data, from the 1st of January 2022 up until yesterday and so on. So we can see that some of these, or most of these, is from the 1st of January. The monthly regional, the e-commerce report, and the ads revenue report is from 30 days ago. Now, we're not actually an e-commerce site, so we can remove these tabs if we want, because it's not relevant to us, or we can keep them in and it'll just simply show us 0 data. But we can add an end date if we want. So if I only wanted this to run up to the 1st of, let's say we take the 1st of July 2023, we can do that as well. Okay, and basically select our start and end date for how long we want to go back. So I could change this to 2019, for example. So my daily traffic I'm taking from the 1st of January 2019 up until the 1st of July 2023. Okay, and then row 6 indicates the metrics that we are pulling from the export. So these are all predefined. However, we can edit these if we want. So what we're given here is, or how you read this, is the metrics that you're going to get in this tab is the sessions, the page views, and the hits. And that is going to be then paired with the dimension for date. Okay, so it's similar to, let's say we have monthly content here. How we read this is we're going to get the sessions, we're going to get the page views, and that is going to be paired with the host name, the year, and the month as well. I have in the slides provided a link to demonstrate the UI dimensions and metrics. So if there is something that you want to include, like for example, let's say I wanted to also have new users. This is basically the naming conventions that are used to pull the dimensions and the metrics into the report. So I could take that metric for new users and add that in there. And I could take another dimension, like the user type if I wanted, and again go back here, place a comma and add that in as well. So again, going back to my first point, it's really important that you review the template that Google Analytics has given you, and edit any metrics or dimensions that you want to add or remove. Then you can also see here we've got orders. So the order is the order in which your data is going to be displayed. So for example here, we're going to have the data displayed by the category first, then the action, then the label, and then the date. And that's going to be paired with the total events. Okay, so when I understand the configuration options, and we'll talk about some of the others later, these view IDs, start end date, metrics, dimensions, and order are really the pre-populated ones, the most important fields to take note of. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I've got my extension, my Google Analytics add-on, and so I'm going to click to run these reports. Okay, so it's just going to take a few minutes to run that, hopefully less than a minute. And as I mentioned, it's really important to think about the data that you actually want to pull, because these can take a while to run. However, you can also, this works in the background, so you can navigate to another tab and continue on with whatever you wanted to do while this runs. But what you're seeing in the background is the connection being made to your Google Analytics account, and extracting that data and pushing it into this Google Sheet. Now, I should have mentioned as well that the analytics, the Google account that I am using here has access to the UA Google Analytics account. So that's important that that you have access on the analytics account and you're using that same account to pull out these reports as well. So now you can see that we've got a tab for daily traffic, tab for daily performance, event performance, campaign performance, and so on. So each of these tabs match to each of these fields here in the sheet. So each of these columns has a different tab. And I think the one that I mentioned there was the event performance. So we've got our list of events. As you might recall, in UA we had category, action, label, and value as well, and that's gone now. We have events and event parameters. But this is pulling out only UA data. And I mentioned here when I was talking about events that the order would be category, action, label, and date. And we can see that displayed in this order: category, action, label, date, and then we have our total events as well. So it'll give you a little bit of a summary at the top of the report, but that is how you can export your UA data. Now if you go back here, I mentioned you can click on the link to download the app. Click on the link to copy the template, check the view ID, the start date, the end date, the metrics, the dimensions, and the order. Make sure you're happy enough with that. And then you can also check if you need to use any data limits. Just before we talk about data limits, I should mention the order as well. You'll see that this is ordering by metrics, so we're ordering by sessions in this case. Now if we go back here to the template that we have, you'll see that the order of these, a lot of this relates to an order of the dimension. But what we have found is in running these reports, it's sometimes useful, if we go back here, to order by the metric, because you might have, for example, in a keyword report, you might have thousands or millions of keywords, and you might only want to see the keywords that maybe have driven the highest number of sessions. Again, to really speed up the reports and to allow you to see only the data that you need, or the most important data. So you might have loads of keywords that have only had one session. So what we've done here actually is we have ordered highest to lowest for the number of sessions, and the minus just before GI sessions indicates that you are looking to sort them by the highest to the lowest number of sessions. So it's descending. And that means that we get this report, but at the very top is the keywords for that year and month that has driven the highest number of sessions. So that's a really good tip to get the most important, or the highest number of sessions for the keywords that you have. And you notice there's another thing that we've added here. I'll come back to filters in a minute, but the limit here. So we've limited this as well. You can put in a number for a limit to 100,000. So that's just an example that we've used here. But we can say, I don't want any more than 100,000 rows in this report. So by using the order, highest to lowest, and by using the limit as well, we are stopping that report, or stopping the table whenever we have hit 100,000 rows in that particular sheet. But because we've ordered it by sessions, we know that then that will only pull out the keywords with the highest number of sessions. So again, that's a way to limit your data. Again, these are optional, but they're just tips to make sure you use the most of this add-on. We also have filters here. Now again, this uses a little bit of regular expression, In this particular case, we had not provided our NP being pulled into the keyword list, so we wanted to remove that. So we added that filter in for that particular set of keywords. And there's different expressions that you can use. Again, if we go back to the quick links here, I have give you links to not just the add-on or the template, but to the type of dimensions and metrics that you want to run, and also this link to the core reporting API reference. And this will actually show you operator symbols that you can use on dimension and metric filters as well. Again, another way of filtering out only the data that you need when you're running your export. Segments can also be added in here. So segments are any segments that you've used. The advanced segments were commonly used in UA reporting, so you can add in if you want this particular report to run just for particular segments of segments that are added to your Google Analytics account. So you could run this for non-purchasers or purchasers, for example, if that's a segment that you've created. And then we've talked about the limits already. You can also skip this report, so you can put in, for example, true or false in that field for skipping the report, if you didn't want that report to run. But just to recap on that, your view ID, your start date, your end date, your metrics and dimensions are probably the most important things. Then you can add other additions to the report, so you can change the order, you can add filters, you can apply your segments, you can add limits if you think you're going to be downloading a lot of data, and you can choose to skip some reports as well. But whenever you're happy with your configuration options, you're running the report to export the data, and that data is being exported into your Google Sheet, where you can then explore the data in BigQuery or Looker Studio. So again, by using the add-on, you're going to download it first. You're going to take a copy of the Google Analytics UA Common Reports, and I've linked to that from the slides. You're going to change out the view ID, which is highest priority. You're going to select that you're happy with the start date or end date. If you want to change that, you can. You're going to check your metrics and dimensions, check your order, add some other additional customizations if you want, hit run, and you'll have an export of then the data that's pulled from your account. Of course, then the next step, as I mentioned in the last point here, is you can connect that Google Sheet to a Looker Studio report or to BigQuery and query that data further. There is a slide here which is a resource link hub, so you can click on any one of these links, which will provide you with more information on how to download your add-on, download or make a copy of the template, select your dimensions and metrics. If you want to add in custom filters, you can check those filters in the reporting API reference, or if you want a summary of all of that, the bottom link will provide some more links and details around exporting your UA data. But that's it. If anyone does have any questions, you can feel free to drop me an email on Joanne@glowmetrics.com. Thank you.